Blessings, beautiful souls. This is Dr. Lori with Still Whole Wellness, trusting that this YouTube video is finding you well and at peace. I have the amazing Miss Clarie O'Leary here with me today. Now, just to give you guys a little background on my special guest today, Claire is the founder of the Empowered Voice, which is a traveling art exhibit. How exciting is that? And using this platform, Claire helps to create a safe space for sexual abuse survivors to share their story. Welcome, Claire. How are you, my friend?
I am doing great today. How are you, Lori?
I'm doing awesome, Miss Speaker, Miss Mentor. I must say that in my head, in my Loriness, I have kind of placed you without even telling you as like mentor in my mind. Like whenever I think of like, healing energy and things like that, like you and Miss Allie definitely come to mind. So welcome to my brain.
I feel the same way. If I'm struggling with something, I think of you and maybe I should call Lori.
Right, exactly. I think, and I'm like, what would Claire do here? Because we really have just like connected on, and I'm so grateful that I've had some really wonderful women to come across my path as I've been doing this work to act as mentors and people just to kind of bounce things off of and gain new perspective. So share with the viewers how we met. This is like one of my favorite parts of the show.
So I actually met Lori. I ran across her in oh my God, what is it called?
Is it Sand or Incest Aware?
It wasn't Sand, but it was yes.
It Incest Aware, I think?
Incest Aware.
Yeah.
Yes, we met on an Incest Aware, and you said something about being a healer, being a Reiki master. And I went, ooh, I got to meet this woman.
That was actually my response to you as well.
Yeah, and the more you spoke, the more I resonated, and the more I was like, I really need to meet Lori in person, or as close to in person as we could.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I do remember that. So we had that. I've met a lot of amazing people through both SAN, which for those of you who are not familiar, SAN stands for Sexual Assault Advocacy Network, created by an amazing, beautiful soul, Suzanne Izaza, and she also is the founder of Incest Aware as well. For both, I sit on the board for both of those amazing organizations, and have really been so fortunate to come in contact with amazing women, advocates and healers, just like yourself. So again, just welcome. I'm so glad you're here. This interview, I'm excited about all of my interviews, of course, but ones where I'm able to, first of all, know that I'm going to learn something, of course, because the nerd in me, it just gets really excited. And then two, those that I am able to really connect with when it comes to the energy healing portion of this journey, it really just excites me. So I'm so excited that you're here today, because I know you're going to share something with the viewers.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I feel the same way about you. We're such kindred spirits.
That's the phrase I was looking for. That is it right there. Absolutely. So Claire, if you don't mind, share with the viewers your story. Like how did we even cross paths in regards to sexual assault trauma?
Wow. Well, I clearly am a sexual abuse survivor myself. Once when I was 5, which was a very short affair, shall we say. And then again, when I was from 16 to 18 with my father. And so I didn't really start my healing path till I was probably in my 30s when I really started healing. I didn't even come out until I was 28 to really share that anything had happened to me. I think my husband knew, a couple of close friends, but I kind of exploded at my father's funeral, and just I had heard one too many times what a wonderful person he was. And I just stood up at dinner time and I just said, he was not this wonderful person. And went on to talk very briefly about what had happened, and did not find out until quite a while later that my sister and was also abused, and two of my brothers.
Also by your father?
My sister, yes, not my brothers. My brothers were from somebody else.
Gotcha.
One of them was from my first perpetrator, my uncle.
Okay.
So lots of family stuff for sure, for sure. And so once I really started healing the first abuse, because I worked on what I called the big abuse for a long time. I went through regular therapy. I had a great therapist, did a lot of alternative healing, became a Reiki master. But I was a couple years after becoming a Reiki master, when I was writing my story about starting my business, when I realized this vision of a little girl standing in the doorway came to mind. And I'd seen her before, just before I quit my job. And, I ignored her completely. But by now I was like, okay, I have done enough inner work to know that this is something I need to deal with. And so I got myself in a very grounded space, started journaling, and as tears are streaming down my face, I started writing my story. And for the very first time, I allowed myself to feel everything that happened as a 5-year-old and to remember everything. In fact, it was then that I realized who my perpetrator was. Until then, it was just a shadow. And it was one of two people, and I just wasn't sure. But boy, when I let myself really go and remember, it was like this weight was lifted off my shoulders. And I realized at that point that this is what I needed to share with others. I needed to work with other survivors and help them to move through. Because as we always say, there is no way out but through.
There's only through. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, of course, that can be scary. That can be very intimidating. It can seem very overwhelming, but I employ the thought to people all the time that, we can hurt by ourselves with no problem, but when you are really seeking to intentionally heal, you do need some type of tribe, some type of community to kind of help you to go through, so that, while you're going through, you're not going through alone, and you've got somebody to kind of hold your hand through it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to go back, if you don't mind, and if you don't, that's absolutely okay. But I wanted to kind of go back to that initial awareness at that dinner table, where you stand up and very boldly and very bravely make this declaration to the family, like, hey, this dude is not, this is not the dude that you think he was. I want you to talk a little bit more about that, but I also want to know, like, how did this affect you as a woman, as a wife? just the realization that you've been violated by your father, the one who's supposed to be the protector.
Right, right. Boy, it affected me in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
As a teenager, my relationship with my father was such a love-hate relationship. And I felt like that first time he came into the room and abused me, I felt like all of my happy childhood literally just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was gone. And I had, up until then, so many wonderful memories
Mm-hmm.
of my father holding me, and he and my mother singing,
Mm-hmm.
and him tucking me into bed and kissing me on the forehead as I pretended to be asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then as an adult, unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize this was the cause, but I was so angry all the time. I would literally explode
Mm-hmm.
at the smallest thing.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody put the roll of toilet paper in the wrong direction, it was, I mean, heaven only knows, I may as well have been abused again.
Mm-hmm.
I would just explode. And even after I had announced to the family that this had happened,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, I've got this little tickle in my throat here.
Oh, you're okay. I'm sitting here. I've got ginger and lemon tea here myself, so I understand.
Yeah. So yeah, so I was angry all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that it was actually a sign of PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
I actually developed diabetes, which I fully believe was caused by this um, perpetrator.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just, I think the biggest thing was this crazy, crazy anger. I just couldn't let go. It was like I just bottled everything up
Mm-hmm.
and then would explode at something small.
Yeah.
The other thing that I realized years later is I was a shopaholic.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that was my way of, if I was feeling less than, and I felt less than a lot. As a matter of fact, I forgot to mention, I was probably the biggest yes girl you can imagine.
Mm. And isn't that like kind of customary to, it's so stereotypical, in terms of that's the trauma response, I guess you could say.
Right.
We end up being yes girls. Yeah.
We
Mm-hmm.
do. And, once I realized that when I was writing that story, that 5-year-old in that moment made the decision that in order to be loved, she had to be anyone wanted her to be,
Mm-hmm.
and to do anything anyone wanted her to do. And honestly, I was 58 before I figured that out.
Wow.
So I was the yes girl extraordinaire
Mm-hmm.
until 58. And it was still, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, two
Mm-hmm.
steps forward, 4 steps back.
Right. Right. Wow.
But
I'm sorry, go ahead, finish your
no,
thought.
no, that's okay. It just made realizing that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to live from that decision was, it was an eye-opener.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, as I said, just lifted this weight from my shoulders, and life really started opening up.
Wow. You're speaking to the very function of still whole wellness, and that is to not just bring the advocacy piece of bringing the awareness to sexual assault trauma, right? But that healing component where I'm helping clients to walk through the process of understanding where is this showing up,
Right.
and helping them to understand and connect the piece of you are responding to life the way that you are because of your trauma. I had a client not too long ago, and I'm sure that this will resonate with you because I think we've maybe talked about it before, that was really kind of resistant to that idea. And it just coincidentally, it happened to be a male client. And he was saying basically that he felt like, well, isn't that just me kind of giving my behavior an excuse?
Oh,
And to that, I see your face. So to that, what would you say to that client? Because it
so
seems like you've got a good handle on this.
well, I think it's not necessarily giving it an excuse. It's understanding
Mm-hmm.
why and realizing that I need to deal with this. I need to
Yes.
heal from it and move through it,
Mm-hmm.
because I do not want to be this way for the rest of my life.
Yes, ma'am.
I did not want to be that angry person any
Mm-hmm.
longer. And, 10 years later, I never, ever felt that way again. I mean, I just quit exploding, and I
Mm-hmm.
started really responding in the moment, until, honestly, about 6 months ago, I started bottling things up again.
Hmm.
And I don't know why, but I know that one of the things that happened is that on my 40th wedding anniversary,
Mm-hmm.
my brother-in-law passed away.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, it was awful. I was sad, but I could not shed a tear.
Mm.
It was like nothing, they would be right there, ready to come out, and then they'd go back in. And
Wow.
I was holding that for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I spoke at his funeral, it was, the same thing happened. Tears began to well up, and that's as far as it went. Until about 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the same thing that I had not done in probably 20, 30 years. I exploded over a frying pan not being cleaned properly.
Mm.
I started screaming.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God no one was home.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, whoa, what was that?
Right. Have this meltdown by myself.
Right, right. And it was the same feeling, that rage that I had like 20 years before, because I had been bottling everything up
Wow.
for probably 6 months and not letting it out. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized that that's my tendency, is to do
Mm-hmm.
that. So thankfully, that was popping the cork.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, the tears started to flow. I started to let things out. I started to process and really move through. And I'm back to my normal self again.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely glad that you are. Very glad that
You
you are.
know?
I think you're hitting on a really good point there, and that being like it, this journey, this healing process is it's definitely, it can be all over the place sometimes.
It can.
There can be moments where you really feel like, okay, boom, I have worked through that, I'm good, I've healed from that, and I'm, no more work to be done. And then, like you said, 6 months later, then, something else is just kind of popping up. For the person that might be listening right now and maybe feeling that way, maybe feeling some frustration and maybe even some resentment that this would be the case, what would you say to that person, just to kind of encourage them and empower them?
Oh, I would say this is so normal.
Mm.
It is a journey to heal from something like this.
Mhm.
And even after 20 years of healing, it's like another layer of the onion.
Yes.
I can remember when I was in my women's group, which was led by my therapist, but I hadn't been in therapy for a while. Something would come up, and I was like, I thought it was done with this. This again? And it happened over and over again. And then, it seemed like years before anything triggered, anything happened.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of years ago, I was triggered at an advocacy conference when someone was sharing their story. And I was like, oh my God, my first husband was abusing me and it didn't even click.
Mm.
I mean, I knew that it wasn't a good marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that he was asking me to do things I didn't want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that I was acting out of character, but I didn't realize that he, was coercing me in the way that he was. And
Gotcha.
I called my husband, my current husband, and I said something to him, and he says, duh. I'm kind of like, yeah, you're right. Duh.
Right. Yeah. I love it. Love it. Love it.
So,
So,
it's just an ongoing thing. Things happen in our lives that may feel triggering,
mm-hmm.
but they are there to heal us.
Yes.
They are there if we actually take and use them as a healing moment.
Mm-hmm. Because
And
that's why they're there, right?
right.
That's why they're there. You are really speaking my heart today. I'm telling you, because that right there, like that seriously is that's what helps me to get through this. That is the exact approach that I take to this healing process, is just when the triggers come up, because and anticipating them.
Anticipating they are
Anticipating them,
going
because
to happen.
anticipation takes some of that power away from it too.
True.
Anticipating that the triggers are going to happen, and when they do, just simply acknowledging, okay, boom, what am I meant to learn from this? What is the blessing that is meant for me in this? I tell people this all the time. There's nothing that is happening that is meant to be your downfall. It wasn't sent to you to be your downfall. Now, can it become your downfall based off of your perspective? Absolutely. But it
Absolutely.
wasn't sent to be your downfall. It was sent to empower you, to educate you, to strengthen you, build you, make you better in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But it's up to us to shift that perspective so that we can see it that way and then receive the blessing. But we miss it.
Absolutely.
We miss it.
Absolutely.
We miss it.
And I've found that I can't always respond in that way in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because in the moment, I am in the moment.
Yeah. Mhm.
I am triggered. I am angry.
Mhm.
I am lonely. I am scared. I am whatever. And but if I can, once I get through that initial feeling,
Mhm.
if I can let myself feel that completely
Mhm.
and just really, like, where am I feeling that in my body?
Yes, ma'am.
And let yourself feel it and just embrace it.
Mhm.
Literally say, it's okay. It's part of me. And I notice that after a while, maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 15 minutes, maybe I have to do it 4 or 5 times before that happens,
Mhm.
but it starts to dissipate.
Yes, ma'am.
And as it does, I can feel the healing.
Mhm.
And I notice that my life changes, little baby steps.
Yeah. Every single time, right?
Yep, every
Every
single
single
time.
stinking time. So I want to talk about something that we kind of danced around during the pre-interview, and it's the actual opposite emotion of what you're talking about now. You're talking about now about really being there, being present, and allowing yourself to feel it. But we both have experienced the other side of that with the
Yes.
dissociation. Can you kind of speak to us a little bit about what that is, how it showed up in your life and on your journey?
Oh, absolutely. So the one thing that I remember most about my father coming to me that first time
Hmm.
was he came in and um, boy, this is not something I've spoken about publicly before,
Okay.
but I
If
had,
you don't feel comfortable, Claire, you don't have to,
uh, thank you for that.
really.
I had been reliving the night before, which was a really wonderful, sensual evening.
Hmm.
And my father came in and he said, I smell sex,
Hmm.
and swore that I had had sex, which I had not.
Hmm.
And he climbed into my bed. And as he touched my thigh, I turned into a board. I literally just disappeared.
Hmm.
I have no idea what happened in that moment. And then as he would come to wake me up on
Hmm.
successive Saturdays, the minute I heard that doorknob turn,
Hmm.
I completely dissociated, did the same thing, turned into a board. I could not be there in that room. The very idea that my father would do this to me,
Hmm.
and I was raised the good little Catholic girl,
Hmm.
I mean, I just couldn't even imagine. I could not go there.
Hmm.
And the abuse was pretty consistent on Saturdays until I left home.
Wow.
And so I didn't realize that I did that,
Hmm.
but I also did it in my life, just generally. I just wore those rose colored glasses. Nothing bad's happening. Nothing
Hmm.
bad's happening.
Yeah. I can just imagine like as I'm listening to you talk, where my mind goes is like, how does one, because when we're growing up, we're taught that it's wrong, for
Right,
us to tell our parents no,
right,
right?
right.
So, but now this is a parent that is clearly violating you, but you have been trained and programmed, you don't say no. So then how does one become comfortable in later years to then be able to say no.
Exactly. I mean, it is no wonder we become yes girls,
Exactly. Yeah.
because we don't even know how to say no. You can't
Mm-hmm.
even hardly say no when you're dating. You can't say no when somebody wants you to do something and you know
Mm-hmm.
you'd rather not do it. It just,
Mm-hmm.
no just cannot exist
Yeah.
in your mind. And
And just to speak to what you mentioned a moment ago of you know, having to relearn this stuff over and over, you know, so obviously the situations will come for you to relearn these lessons and to really give you some insight as to, okay, where am I at with this, you know, how much healing have I really done with this. Just wanted to share, like, I had my own kind of aha moment with this within the past like 6 months myself, with that yes girl energy, right?
mhm,
Family member wants me to comb their daughter's hair, right? um I did it once thinking, okay, this is kind of cool. This is kind of nice, you know, but had no real desire to do it ongoing, right? In that moment initially. And then it became like this ongoing thing. Claire, I literally, it was like something so simple, seemingly very simple, to just simply say, you know what, dear heart, loved one, this is not really a space that I want to occupy. This is not something I really want to do. But when I tell you, girl, it was so hard for me to say no. This went
yeah,
on for months. This went on for months. And
yeah.
then finally getting to this place where I had to stop. And so sometimes those reactions they come a little slow, you know, those downloads come a little slow. And
They
so,
do.
you know, it came back to me. It was like, this is that yes girl energy.
Yes,
This is
yeah,
that yes girl energy. This is still like evidence that this is still some work that needs to be done in this area. Um, but yeah, it is so hard for me. My first like recollection of violation was from an uncle. Again, a person in my family that you don't tell uncle no. Like, you know, we're taught that as children. You do what adults tell you to do, you know. And
exactly.
so, you know, turning into that yes girl when you are then violated by the person that you really should be telling no, it's
Right.
becomes pretty easy. um, so I want to shift gears just a little bit, and I want to talk about the other side, the part that gets my motor running. that's that's the active, the intentional healing part of this. What tell me some of the things that you have kind of incorporated along your journey to help support you along the journey in terms of the healing.
Wow, I have found that everything, wow, I've done so many alternative therapies,
You and I
including
both. You and I both.
including Reiki, of course, and
Yes.
PRE,
Hmm.
and Tai Chi and Qigong. I found that even dancing,
Yes.
being in your body, just, really such a great release.
Hmm.
Writing is wonderful. I just love
Absolutely.
getting things out on paper makes all the
Hmm.
difference in the world. Art. I use art to just release things all the time. I've done a number of different collages that, kind of shared my story and how, um, just to relate what I felt like in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving on through the years and healing from it. Boy, I've used kinesiology,
Mm.
um, tapping.
Tapping is a really good one. I have a lot of clients that use tapping. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tapping is not my go-to.
Hmm.
Writing and art are my go-to. They're my
Gotcha.
my natural, okay, I need to write. And
I'm with you there.
yeah. And interestingly enough, I went back to school when I was 40 to become a graphic designer.
Hmm.
And I use graphic design to calm me when I've been triggered. So if
Hmm.
I'm feeling really stressed,
Okay.
all I have to do is a graphic design project. It can be something for me, it can be for a client. It doesn't matter. It's just that. And I think what it is it brings me in the moment. And when I do graphic design, which of course I design my magazine,
Hmm.
it's it's pure concentration. Your mind is right there in the moment.
Hmm.
And so all of that backstory is just gone. It
It's
just
gone.
doesn't even exist. So it's like drawing, it's like doing collage,
Hmm.
whatever. It just brings me peace.
I dig
As
that
long as I'm
so
not on a
much.
deadline.
Right. Right. Exactly. Right. So with that, perfect segue. Like, tell us a little bit about the Empowered Voice and this amazing traveling exhibit.
So, it was really interesting. That came to me after I had been triggered by a client. We were going to do a Reiki treatment
Hmm.
long distance. In fact, she's in Greece.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was running late. I didn't take the time to really center myself, protect myself. And she was really triggered when we got on Zoom together. And boy, by the time our session ended, I was so triggered. It took
Mm,
me probably 2 hours of just sitting and meditating and releasing to before I could feel back to myself.
hmm.
And so I had talked to a friend, and she suggested that I write down 10 ways of working with my clientele that would not be triggering.
Hmm.
So we got off the phone and I wrote a couple of things down, and then it was dinner time and I just, kind of let it go. So the next morning, as this had percolated in the night, as
Hmm.
I'm doing my meditation, I get a message saying, traveling art exhibit. I'm like, really? Traveling art exhibit?
I love it.
Like, I'm like, I have no clue,
Like,
no
what
clue
is
how I'm
this?
going to do this, right?
Hmm.
And of course, I love to travel,
Hmm.
but I'm like, I don't know the first thing about bringing people together to create art
Hmm.
or any of that. And I'll tell you, I was just walked step by step by step through it. People just came to me
Hmm.
and everything just like flowed exactly the way it was supposed to flow.
Mm.
And so I put together this art exhibit. This was actually 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I showed it in this beautiful round room in one of the local areas. And I I had the art show there, and
Hmm.
I had women sharing their stories. Some
Hmm.
of it I had on video because they were in California or Seattle. And so I brought all of this stuff together and
Hmm.
I put together this event. Once again, I have never done that.
Wow.
Now, I did have some experience with putting together and marketing events in my prior job, but it was a completely different kind of event. And I wasn't the mainstay, right? I wasn't like putting it all together,
Right.
just doing bits and pieces. But I found that everything that I had to do, I had in some fashion done before without even realizing it.
The setup.
It
The setup. The divine is so amazing that,
right?
first of all, to even have this idea, to even just kind of come to you out of absolutely nowhere, right?
Right.
And then the way that all of the people just came and fell into place, all of the assistance that was needed. And then just, like you said, you can kind of look back and see, I've been preparing for this, this entire
Right.
time. The amazing construction of the divine energy is just like fascinating for me.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Absolutely fascinating to me. So with the exhibit, can anybody be involved in it? Like how does it work? How does it function?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a survivor and you do art to work through, or to, for whatever reason, as a survivor, and if art is something that is helpful and you want to be part of the exhibit, I would welcome. You can email me at very easy, Claire, Claire, at ClarieO'Leary.com.
Beautiful.
And yeah, I would, as a matter of fact, I will be doing another show like this, another exhibit and forum. We've got a lot of dance planned, a lot of people speaking, sharing poetry, stories, at the end of April 24th. So I'm really psyched about doing that.
Awesome. Where's that going to be, Claire?
It is going to be in Glenwood Springs, Colorado.
Okay.
At the Vaudeville Review, right on Main Street.
Okay.
And who knows, some of the players from the vaudeville may even take part in this.
That would be awesome.
We're still planning, so we don't know for sure what it's going to be 100%, but I've got some nonprofits behind me.
Beautiful.
And yeah, I'm really excited about that.
That is so awesome. So before we go, because we are energy people, so
right?
So I wanted to I know you're doing all this wonderful work with the exhibit, but I also wanted to highlight the fact that you do some healing work in terms of Reiki in other areas using a different modality. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you incorporate Reiki into the work that you do with your clients?
Absolutely. It's Reiki is this really wonderful modality that is just, channeling this amazing healing energy and allowing the other person to just draw it into themselves for self-healing. And so I always find it fascinating when people come to me with a sore ankle, and I end up spending most of my time on their heart. And it's, it's like they thought they came to me for a sore ankle, but they really came to me because of their heart. So the way I do Reiki, which I know is probably similar to you, because I do mentoring as well, I like to talk for a good 20-30 minutes prior to just see what is going on with the person, and really get a sense of who they are and what they need. And inevitably, I'm going to say probably 90+% of the people who come to come for Reiki, who don't know me from Adam, they just saw my website and they said, oh, she looks like a nice person. Call me out of the blue. 90% are sexual abuse survivors. Came to me because they had a sore ankle.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Isn't that amazing how they're just drawn?
They are. They're just drawn. And
do you feel that we as I was just talking about this with someone else the other day, do you feel that we as survivors, that we have like an energy that is, for lack of a better word, like on us?
Yes. Yes, for lack of better words. Yes. And I will say that until that victim energy is healed, and until we are have moved through it and are in the healing process, I can't say that you're necessarily 100% healed, because are we ever?
Right.
But that energy, the victim energy that we still hold at the beginning, draws more people in to victimize us.
Absolutely.
And
we experience it over and over and over again.
Yes, I can't tell you how many times at work, inappropriate. So much inappropriateness. I had a boss's father corner me in a closet. I mean, it's like all of this bizarre stuff that just should not happen, happens over and over and over. I have had several bosses. It's just, one of those things.
And then don't you also find that we end up very subconsciously placing ourselves in positions to be then victimized?
Yeah. We do. As a matter of fact, I did that. I was late for my bus once. I was, I don't know, about 19 probably. And some older man in his 50s offered me a ride. I know better than that. The nicest man, I have to make a stop. We make a stop. We pull into the parking lot area where we work, and he reaches for my thigh. Luckily, we're only going 15 miles an hour. I literally jumped out of the car.
Wow.
It was like my father doing it again.
Yeah, all over again.
Yeah. But the reverse of that is, once we are beginning to heal and as we become healers ourselves, we are bringing in those people who know and trust our energy because we've been through the same thing. And so I think that energetically we draw in whatever we need, whatever we're ready for, to be honest. And so that, because we're both survivors, and we understand and we really feel and connect, they are completely connected with us and drawn to us.
Absolutely.
That's why they come.
Who is it? I think it's Abraham Hicks that says, you don't attract what you want, but you attract where you are. And so if you are, feeling like you are being kind of preyed upon and victimized over and over, it's because you are in, according to her perspective, you are in vibrational alignment to attract that more of that energy to you. So the trick is to get out of alignment with that energy, and get more in alignment with the energy of that which you are seeking, which you desire. So
absolutely. And do you find that Reiki raises our energy to kind of get us out of that victim mode,
Mhm.
or drawing in the negative stuff.
Absolutely. At least that's what it did for me, for
Yeah,
sure.
and
You know,
myself as well.
yeah, and like we talked about this, in pre-interview where I was sharing with you that I come from the church background, father being a Baptist preacher, pretty much all my life, and um, so I already, even though in those formative years it wasn't Reiki, in my brain. It wasn't that energy wasn't presented to me as Reiki. Um, it was definitely presented as that God energy, or Holy Spirit, as they call it, right?
Holy Spirit,
Um,
right.
but essentially, in my opinion, it is the same thing. It is the God energy that is healing. And so for me, it was the more that I became familiar and began to almost take an astute a studious approach to trying to understand that energy. Man, oh man, the more that I was like drawn into it, the more that I wanted to understand it, the more that I wanted to use it. And once that light bulb clicked on, boy, that it doesn't just fix spiritual stuff, it doesn't just fix physical stuff, but it can heal the emotions, and it can literally heal the vibration that you're in. That was like, boom, okay, sign me up. Sign me up for more of that, as much as
Same,
that as I can
same
possibly get.
here. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the more I realize the power of it,
Because I hated
healing
where I was. Didn't
physical,
you hate where you were?
right?
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I hated the way that I felt in my own body. And I was just,
Right.
it really just like came into my life that it was, like I said, it was introduced as Holy Spirit or God energy. But once it was reintroduced as Reiki, for whatever reason in my Lori brain, I was able to really, really receive it, and was able to really do some amazing work with it, for both myself and with clients.
Yeah, same here. When
Yeah.
I first learned Reiki, I remember, I remember another fellow student who was, is probably 6'5", had
Oh
like
wow.
the biggest hands I can remember.
Of
And
course.
he places his hands on the side of my head, and the energy that I felt come
Mhm.
through that was my very first Reiki energy through him. I had not received it. I had not been exposed to it at all.
Mhm.
And he was a fellow student. And I was like, whoa, it was just amazing. And this feeling of peace and calm
Mm,
just
mm.
came all the way through my body.
Yes, ma'am.
And yet I did nothing with it for 20 years.
Mm,
I mean, I did my level 1 training, and I practiced a little bit, if, on my husband, on friends and family, that kind of thing.
mhm,
And then I was introduced to level 2.
mhm,
And the difference between level 1 and level 2 for me was like night and day.
mhm.
And I just went, oh yeah, we're going all the way.
Right, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I want all of this, every last bit of it. I
Yeah,
love it.
exactly. Yeah, there was just no doubt in my mind. It's like, if 1 to 2 does this, holy moly.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So I hate to go, because like, whenever I get to sit with someone and talk about Reiki and talk about energy and all this stuff, like it just, oh gosh, it just excites me so much. But I do want to be respectful of the time. But I appreciate you being here today. I really appreciate this conversation so, so much. So tell us events that are coming up. How can people contact you? Give us that information one more time.
Absolutely. So I have, and I don't even know what the name of it is going to be yet,
Okay.
but I, somewhere along the lines of art or artists for survivors.
Mm. Mm,
And it's going to be a combination of physical art and all different kinds of, um, what's the word I'm looking for? I completely forgot it. Uh, Different presentations, dance,
mhm.
song, you name it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it is on April 24th,
Okay.
2022. And it is in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. So if you happen to be anywhere near our area, I urge you to come. It should be really wonderful. We are raising money so I can actually print the Voices Heard magazine.
Oh yeah, that's what we didn't get a chance to talk about. Talk to us about a
Yeah.
little bit about the magazine. I'm so sorry for that.
No, no, not at all. So the magazine, I am so excited because that was my next download
Mm-hmm.
after COVID started.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, we are not traveling anything. Now what?
Right. Right.
And the words Voices Heard magazine came in.
Mm-hmm.
And I took all of the imagery from the art show
Mm-hmm.
and turned it into a magazine. And then I brought in each quarter, I bring in half a dozen or so stories, and I have a section on building resilience.
Mm,
I have a section on a number of books and websites that are helpful,
beautiful.
including SAN and Incest Aware are in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So lots of helpful ways to, um, if anybody needs help, there's like tons of information in there.
Awesome.
But the survivor stories are typically stories of hope
Mm-hmm.
and healing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just, for me, they're just really amazing to see how many people are finally healing from this. And
Yeah.
if we can all heal, from our sexual abuse, our whole world is going to be different. Because when
We can
you
quit
heal,
bleeding on each other.
right, right, when
Yeah.
you heal a survivor, you heal her family,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
heal everyone that she is ever or he are
Mm-hmm.
ever in contact with.
You are absolutely right. You really, truly are. Yeah. And that even the generational piece, we
Yes.
talked about this as well in the pre-interview that myself coming from a generation of women who have been sexually violated, so it is a very, very special place that I believe I get to hold, in the knowing that as I work on myself, as I heal myself, I am literally healing those generations before me. And um a lot of responsibility with that, but one that I don't mind having, and not
No,
in
not
any
at
way
all.
running from.
It is
In fact, quite the opposite, really loving the process.
absolutely, it is
Mm.
such a blessing
It truly is.
to know that you are actually healing generationally. I have found that it was 6 generations back in my mother's family
Hmm.
before we found a completely loving generation without sexual trauma.
Whoa. Now
Yeah,
that's a big one there.
that was
That's,
amazing.
yeah, that's big. That's
Yeah,
big.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you for sharing that. Let the viewers know one more time how they can reach you, whatever contact information you want them to have.
absolutely. You can reach me, you can email me at claireoleary.com.
Hmm.
You can check out my website at travelingexhibit.com.
Hmm.
Um, or is it the traveling exhibit? Oh dear, I just
I'll
forgot.
make
I'll
sure to,
send it to you.
yeah, we'll make sure to put
I
it in
believe
the
it is
caption.
travelingexhibit.com, and you can also get the magazine from that website.
Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Even I was able to, I was so honored to have been a part of the magazine. I think that was what, October, the October issue, I believe.
Was it October or was it summer? No, you're right. It was October.
Yeah. And what an
Yeah.
awesome experience that was. I must say that even the process in writing the story for the magazine was very therapeutic for me. I found myself just if I don't know, it was really I felt like a whole nother release in that process. So thank you again. I know I've thanked you a lot, but thank you again for that opportunity. That really it really helped me quite a bit. I had some more just beautiful downloads that came to me in that process. So thank you for that.
I thank you so much for saying that. I find that that is true with probably 80 or 90% of those who are writing their stories.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
just, release and um, discovery, all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of just wonderful stuff that
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you recall, I wrote about the trauma and kind of associated it to some of the healing pieces that I was in the middle of doing with my mom. And so that, just connected so well. And that was really just, it was, that helped me so much there. I was like, I felt like I was healing two things at once. And so that was really nice. That was really,
It's
really nice.
it's amazing. Just I find the process of writing just does that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very
Yeah,
therapeutic, and just that release is
exactly.
it's pretty
Exactly.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Miss
Oh,
Claire O'Leary, for being here with me today. I appreciate you taking your time. You're such a busy woman. You have so many different hats that you wear, but I'm so grateful that you were honoring us with your time today. I appreciate it so, so much.
Lori, I can't thank you enough for having me here. It's a
Absolutely.
blessing for me to be able to be with you and share my story and insights. So thank you.
You are so welcome, my friend. So, if you're watching this and Claire's story resonates with you, if you want to connect with her, if you want to learn more about the Empowered Voice or the Traveling Art Exhibit, just take a look down in the comments below, and I'll make sure to leave that information for you. If you are wanting to connect with me, Dr. Lori, in Still Whole Wellness, that information will also be below as well. But you can definitely reach out to me at stillwholewellness@gmail.com. All right. And thank you. Thank you so much, Miss
And
Claire.
you.
Blessings to you, my friend. And I appreciate you so much. And until next episode, we will see you guys later. You guys be well and at peace. Know that I love you, and continue to follow this channel, because this is where healing happens every single day. You guys be well and at peace.